If you have few or no friends, you are not broken, you are not flawed, you are not incomplete. You are being crafted in solitude, shaped in silence, strengthened in self-awareness. Don't chase crowds, chase growth. The right people will not count you, they will claim you. Armand was a quiet child from the very beginning. Not shy exactly, just observant. He was the type of boy who watched the world before joining it, who listened more than he spoke, who felt deeply but expressed little. His parents often noticed this, but they never pushed him to change. They believed every personality has its own rhythm, and Armand was simply moving to a beat others couldn't hear. In his neighborhood, children played cricket in loud groups. Armand played too, but differently. He wasn't the one shouting after every hit or celebrating every wicket. He enjoyed the game, but what fascinated him more were the patterns, the angle of the bat, the curve of the ball, the psychology of the bowler. While others played for applause, Armand played for understanding. At school, social life felt like a different sport altogether, a sport he didn't understand the rules of. There were groups, big circles of students who shared everything from homework to heartbreak. They laughed together, sat together, walked together. Armand always admired them from a distance, like someone watching a festival from outside the gate. Whenever he tried to enter those circles, something felt off. Not painful, just unnatural. The conversations were fast, the jokes were many, the connections felt loud but thin. Armand wasn't built for thin connections. His heart searched for depth, not noise. But depth takes time to find, and time can feel like loneliness when you're young. During his early years at school, Armand convinced himself he simply preferred his own company. And that was true to an extent, but the human heart is complex. Even introverted souls desire connection, they just refuse to fake it. By the time Armand entered 9th grade, the silence around him started speaking louder than his own thoughts. Lunch breaks felt long, corridors felt wide, classroom chatter felt distant. His phone remained quiet after school. No pings, no plans, no late-night group calls. Sometimes when he scrolled through social media, he felt a strange ache, not jealousy, but comparison. Everyone seemed surrounded, everyone seemed claimed, everyone seemed included. And slowly, the world planted a question in his mind.
Why not me? At first, it was a small question. Then it became a wound disguised as curiosity. One day, a classmate jokingly said to him, "Bro, you're always alone. Don't you have friends?" The class laughed. Armand smiled too, because what else could he do? But that night, the smile turned heavy. He lay awake, replaying the words again and again. He didn't feel offended. He felt exposed, because the truth was, he didn't know how to answer that question anymore. A few weeks later, the school announced a group competition for a science exhibition. Students had to form teams of 4 to 6 members. Armand loved science. He had ideas that could win. He approached a group hesitantly and asked if he could join them. One of them replied casually, "We already have enough members." Not rude, not kind, just dismissive. Armand nodded and walked away. But inside, something cracked. Not his confidence, but his illusion that belonging could be forced. That day, he understood the difference between being alone and being chosen, and he was tired of trying to be chosen by the wrong crowd. Still, the world around him kept whispering that loneliness meant damage. One evening after school, Armand wandered toward a small bridge near a park. Birds flew overhead. The sky was bruised with sunset colors, and the city hummed below like a faraway machine. He sat quietly, letting the wind scroll through his hair. An elderly man sat nearby, scattering grains for pigeons. The birds trusted him without fear. After a long silence, the man spoke without looking at him. "Your face carries questions." Armand exhaled a small laugh. "Maybe too many." The man turned slightly and asked, "Which one hurts the most?" Armand didn't plan to answer, but honesty spilled before permission. I have no friends. I feel different, maybe broken. The old man smiled, not the pitying kind, but the recognizing kind, the smile of someone who has met solitude before. He said, "Son, the number of friends you have is not a report card of your wholeness." Armand looked at him, listening now like the birds did. The man pointed toward the sky. Some birds fly in flocks, some fly alone. The ones that fly alone are not lost, they are self-navigated. Armand repeated the words silently in his heart. The man continued, "Society has created a strange math. More friends equals more value. But the universe uses a different formula. Authenticity equals true belonging." Then he added, "A lion walks alone not because he's broken, but because others can't walk his journey." Armand asked quietly, "But don't lions need a pack?" The man shook his head gently. "Wolves need packs. Lions build kingdoms." Armand absorbed the metaphor like oxygen after drowning. The man stood up slowly and brushed dust from his hands. Loneliness doesn't mean you are broken. It means you are being prepared. You are not empty. You are becoming. Armand watched him walk away, the birds still circling his footprints. That night, Armand opened a notebook. The first line he wrote was not a complaint, it was a declaration. "If I am alone, let it be a choice, not a sentence." From that day, Armand stopped begging for belonging and started earning it through growth. He decided to learn English, not to impress people, but to finally speak the language of his thoughts. Since you're already learning English, Armand's journey mirrors your own. Self-upgrade, not self-erasure. He watched tutorials about computers, explored software, learned digital skills. His curiosity became his social circle for a while, silent, demanding, rewarding. When weekends came, Armand built routines instead of waiting for invitations. He read books, learned about aviation, studied planes not only as machines, but symbols of direction. Becoming a pilot had been his childhood dream, one that didn't require a crowd to validate. He trained his emotions like a muscle. Whenever the world tried to make him feel excluded, he practiced calm. Whenever silence felt heavy, he practiced gratitude for self-awareness. Whenever comparison tried to wound him, he practiced self-definition. Solitude became his gym. Silence became his mentor. Growth became his voice. In 10th grade, Armand created a science project alone. Since he had no group, he didn't ask permission. He built a working model of a smart irrigation system using sensors and automation. Teachers were impressed. Students were curious. A boy who once felt invisible had now become noticeable without shouting. After the exhibition, one student approached him and said, "Your project was amazing. Can you teach me how you built it?" It was the first invitation Armand accepted, not to a party, but to a connection of depth. Their bond grew naturally, slow, real, respect-based. Later, another student joined them, and suddenly Armand had 2 friends. Not 10, not 20, but 2 is not a number when it's real. It's a foundation. They didn't bond over gossip. They bonded over building. They didn't laugh at others. They laughed at struggles survived. They didn't demand constant presence. They understood individuality. One evening, all 3 of them sat near the same bridge where Armand once questioned his worth. He smiled, remembering the birds and the lion. He told them, "I used to think having no friends meant I was broken." One of them said, "Maybe you were never meant for many. Maybe you were meant for meaningful." Armand nodded, because meaningful people are not found in crowds. They are recognized by clarity. Years passed. Armand finished school, entered college, and kept walking his sky-sized dream. He applied for aviation training and was accepted. Flying taught him something poetic. The sky doesn't ask how many walk with you. It only asks if you know your direction. At the academy, Armand met people like himself, quiet, focused, driven, emotionally intelligent, people who didn't need constant social validation, people who could enjoy company without dependency. For the first time, Armand realized that his personality wasn't a glitch, it was a filter.
Not everyone is built for surface-level friendship. Some are built for evolution-level companionship. Armand became a pilot at 24. His graduation ceremony was attended by his parents, his 2 school friends, and 3 meaningful connections from the Aviation Academy. Only 8 people clapped for him, but the applause shook the world more than 80 shallow cheers ever could, because strength isn't measured in attendance, it's measured in impact.